Christy, you mentioned a few minutes ago Matt and Lauren Chandler, who are friends of yours. They've been through a very difficult season the last few years, dealing with suffering, cancer. Have you been down any paths of suffering where you've seen how deep the joy is that is in Jesus, despite our circumstances?
Yeah. In 1999 and 2000, Nathan and I experienced 2 miscarriages pretty much back to back, about 7 or 8 months apart. And of course, it was our first try at having children, and there's a lot of fear that starts to come around that, because you think, is there something wrong with my body? Am I ever going to be able to have kids? And the first miscarriage was real physically painful. The second, we just kind of had to wait it out and see. And it just, of course, your heart too. It's this whole journey. Actually, just right now, I'm actually trying to write out that story, and just so I'll remember it, and maybe I'll get to share that. But I think in remembering it, it's been so good for me to sort of relive that in a way of realizing that when he really does entrust you with suffering, so that you can later share him. And I think that has been a beautiful part of just realizing what that season was for. And had I never experienced that, I would never have been able to comfort others in the way that I've been able to comfort them, because of how God comforted me through that, and how the body of Christ came around us in that time. And I was able to just understand in a way that I never would have been able to, before, because I just didn't know what that pain was like, And I think, too, one of the sweetest things that I remember driving in my car when I found out I was pregnant with Noah, our 12-year-old, and we were at the time recording a song called Glory Baby that the Lord had given us during that time. It was kind of a song like the first miscarriage. I'd started writing it, and the first lyric says, "Glory baby, you slipped away as fast as we could say baby." And that's about as far as I could get without just crumbling under just the pain of it. But by the second miscarriage, and after a time of healing, the Lord helped me come around that song and finish it. And so this record we were doing, we were putting that song on the album, and I remember thinking, this is big, because whether or not I ever have a baby, I'm going to have to sing this all the time and talk about it, because I'm choosing, knowing that this song had been a lot of, a part of my healing, that I wanted it to be a part of others' healing as well. And so I knew I was going to have to share it. And so that in some way was just my faith, and going, God, I trust that you're bigger and you're greater than anything that I could long for, even a child. I have to trust too that you know what's best for me, and you're holding all my desires in your hands. And I remember driving along, and I just found out I was pregnant with Noah, and I hadn't even told Nathan yet. So it's just, I pondered those things in my heart. I felt, I just was remembering Mary there, and just it was a special time that I was the only one on earth that knew. And for some reason in my heart, I knew that God was going to give us this child to hold. I knew in my heart. But I remember praying and saying, God, you can have this one too. If it brings you more glory, you can have this one too. And I remember just realizing that, so even only by his grace, that I could pray even that prayer of just going, God, I realize that you're a greater joy than anything I could hope for. And I realized I had to even just lay down my wants, and my desires for a baby, and that getting pregnant wasn't going to fix me. It wasn't going to bring me the greatest joy. And I remember just thanking God for that kind of realization in my heart of that, Jesus, you're the greatest joy of my life. And it helps me love my children more when they're knowing they're not the greatest joy of my life, and they know that Jesus is. And so I think even through that suffering, that was what God did in my heart, was just realizing yeah, he's better than life. You know, he's better than what we could desire on this earth, and then but yet he's given us 3 children, and who are all an amazing blessing. So